A juvenile court in New Delhi is expected to deliver its verdict today on one of the suspects who was tried over the fatal gang rape of a woman that happened last December. It's a case that shocked not just India but also had global repercussions. Joining us now here in our studios is an Indian multimedia journalist based with CCTV News, Manoj Kewalramani. Welcome to the News Hour.
Thank you.
So the verdict that we're going to get today is on the juvenile who was tried. Tell us a little bit more about the number of increasing rape cases that we're seeing in India. What really is the crux of the problem?
I think in terms of the number and the increase in the number of rape cases, it has a lot to do with the increase in reporting. It's not necessarily a specific thing that the crime has suddenly gone up to an alarming level. It is alarming, yes, but the numbers that are coming out and the percentage increases are a lot to do with reporting and how the stigma associated with rape and reporting rapes has diminished. So that, in a sense, if you look at it, there is a positive line to that, although it is obviously a terrible situation. In terms of why these crimes are occurring, violent crimes, there's an increase in violent rapes. And that sort of an increase is probably to do with the fact that the law thus far had been lenient in some ways. Conviction rates are very, very poor. We have about 90% acquittal rates. And while that doesn't obviously serve as a deterrent, the bigger problem is that the judicial process tends to take such a long period of time with so many cases pending that actually results in impunity on the part of the perpetrators, and that's why there's an increase in these crimes.
So, which is why this case is so important. We can show live pictures to our viewers now. It's coming from outside the courtroom where we're expecting this verdict. Remember, this is one trial of a juvenile who was also part of the 6 accused in this case. One accused died, killed himself in jail. The 4 others are being tried in a separate case. That verdict is expected sometime in the middle of September. Today we're expecting to get the verdict of the juvenile, the maximum sentence for which is 3 years in prison. Manoj, if you can sort of walk us through these pictures. These are live pictures from outside the court complex. He's being tried in a juvenile court, which is very different from a regular court.
Yes, this is an interesting aspect of the law. Obviously, there's much anger in the public in India with the fact that this gentleman has been tried as a juvenile. But the law clearly stipulates that under 18 you are a juvenile and you will be tried in a juvenile court. And
he was barely months away from being 18 when this happened.
And there was a tremendous controversy around it with lots of tests being done, medical tests being done to determine the age. But the debate sparked by that was that whether the cutoff of 18, an arbitrary cutoff in some ways, whether that is justified or whether there should be a period, a range that should be considered between 16 to 18, whether that's extremely contentious. The new law that came in March, it obviously refused to address that because it is extremely contentious and there is no consensus on that thus far.
So what does India need to do to try and change the whole stigma of violent crimes against women? Obviously it's not just rapes that are happening in public open spaces, but also there's a hell of a lot of domestic violence.
Yes, there is. And I mean, domestic violence is in some ways, it's the new law that the Indian government enacted in March. It addresses a lot of the issues. It addresses a lot of the issues. It brings about new aspects into, it broadens the definition of sexual violence against women and rapes. So it brings aspects like voyeurism, it brings aspects like stalking, which were thus far not considered as crimes. And those are a positive movement. But in terms of domestic violence, there is a separate law. But things like marital rape, those are aspects which the law has left untouched thus far. And again, those are extremely contentious in India. There is a debate going on and hopefully there will be movement slowly.
And hopefully as women come out increasingly and participate in open space, in open discussions and debates, something that we haven't seen in India in many years, this will change.